Hi, this is John Seal. Welcome to another edition of the Kardia Marketing Podcast, where we discuss everything about driving explosive growth for your medical practice. Today, I've got a special guest. This is Aaron Jinks, our Vice President of Digital Strategy here at Kardia. And Aaron, what kicked this off is I was having a conversation, a friend of mine, they are a practice admin for a local orthopedic practice. And they said to me, you know what, we've got a lot of good things going on. We've got a good website. Their surgeon has been in this community for ages and has a fantastic reputation. And they said, why aren't we getting more bookings? They've got a large, very active hospital to the south of us, about 30 minutes, that is very, very active. And meaning their marketing's pretty poignant. They're aggressive inside of social media, TV ads, radio. They've been aggressive for a long time. And they said, why aren't we winning more? We're the local guys. We've got a good website. We've got things going on. What would you say to somebody like that, Aaron? They're established. Why aren't they getting more patients, new patients?
Well, that is an awesome question, and one that we actually get all the time. And really, there's a lot that can go into that. But typically, we find that the reason you're not getting the bookings that you would expect to see usually fall under really one of three things. Either one, people aren't able to find you when they're looking for you. The second is you've got some messages out there, but it isn't hitting the way that it needs to hit.
Not resonating there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the third really is that once they make it to your website, the message there's something on there that's turning them away. They're not interested because of, even if your messaging is okay, they can find you, they get to your website, and there's an issue there.
So I agree with those. Let's take them one piece at a time. So the first one here is that people, maybe they know about you, but it's not like that, orthopedic surgeons come up in everyday conversation, right? You don't walk up to the neighbor mowing the grass and say, hey, how about that orthopedic surgeon? It's not commonplace. We don't have household names. So when somebody is in need, they've had an accident on the ski slopes. We've got, an ailing parent that's not able to be as mobile as they want. That's when this happens, right? We're in need. How do we make it so that new patients can easily find a local orthopedic practice?
Yeah, and super, super important. Really, it comes down to your website's SEO, which is search engine optimization.
Yep, okay.
That allows Google to put you higher up in the search results so that when somebody hurts their knee and they search, hey, is there an orthopedic surgeon near me? Or who's the best orthopedic surgeon near me?
Okay. Yep.
Getting your website to rank up there at the very top of the page. If your website, we see this often inside of medical practices where their website does look pretty decent, but they haven't spent the time to earn those trust signals for Google. And so their website just doesn't appear when you search for best orthopedic. And if you're not on that very first page of Google, I mean, think about it. When's the last time you went to the second page of Google?
Never, right? That's the joke, right? Where do you hide a dead body on the second page of Google? Nobody goes there. So most medical practices at some point have hired somebody to do SEO for them. Most of those people have gotten burnt because there's just no results. Aaron, what advice do you have for that particular practice?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And really what it comes down to is, I think, the transparency of the group that you're with. It's really easy for an SEO company to say, I'm going to get you there. And then you hear from them in 6 months, things aren't looking good. You wonder what they've done the whole time. And sadly, that does happen inside of this industry. What you need to look for in a group to help you is that they're meeting with you regularly, that they're figuring out, what are your goals, what are the things that you're trying to accomplish, and then they're showing you exactly what they're doing to get you there. There are many actionable steps that you can take to get your website from page 10 of Google to the very first page, but you need to understand that something is happening. You need to understand what they're doing. And so I would say when, if you've been burned before, look for an agency, look for a group that can be open and transparent with you.
Okay, good. I can appreciate that. The next thing that you mentioned here is you also said sometimes we've got a medical practice and that message just doesn't resonate with the audience. Can you give me an example of that?
Yeah, so A lot of times medical practices will focus on what they do. We replace knees. And so the message that they'll blast out on social media, on the radio, on everything is, hey, we are awesome at replacing knees. Come talk to us.
Yeah.
And that's good. I mean, that's good because now that person knows there's another place that they should look at.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really sell you. Like, why should they come to you instead of the 54 other competitors in my city? And so really what we want to get down to is the why,
Yeah.
You're not selling replacing knees, you're selling a return to a lifestyle.
Yes.
Maybe the person is a gardener and they have loved gardening, but they can't do it anymore because they can't get down on their knees. You're selling them the ability to go back and to garden.
I love that concept because one of the things that happens too much inside of marketing is and this happens a ton in medical, we focus on the device, right? We focus on minimally invasive, surgeries and procedures. And what we do is we show the beautiful Smith & Wesson machine that facilitates that. Nobody cares about the machine. Nobody. Your patient doesn't want to see the scalpel. They want the end result. One time I was working with a funeral home, okay? And this funeral home had a beautiful facility. And what they showed on their homepage, the big hero image right when you open up that homepage, was this gorgeous view of this fantastic facility, but it was row after row after row of empty pews. And they were really struggling. Even after this, they spent tens of thousands on this new website. And they were like, John, why aren't we getting more bookings, similar to what we're talking about here? And the answer was because the homepage just reinforced loneliness and isolation, which is the exact opposite of what you want inside of that industry. So in this case, I can appreciate too many times we focus on the jargon, we focus on the pain, and we're not selling the end result of why they're coming to us. So I appreciate that feedback, Aaron. I think that's really good. The last thing that you mentioned here, and I guess this is a good segue, we talk about websites, we talk about the fact that a website does not either resonate, maybe it's messaging, or it doesn't facilitate an experience where that potential patient feels comfortable in making a call or booking an online appointment. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, a lot of times if you click on an ad on Facebook or something, it'll take you straight to, say, a homepage.
Yeah.
That's a disjointed experience for the user, the potential customer that you have. Let's say that we're going ahead and we're selling the end result.
Yeah.
We're saying get back to gardening, and all of our messaging is around that. And then they click on that link and it goes straight to a website that just says, fix your knees, and it has nothing to do with anything that's been said on any of the messaging.
Yeah.
That it feels almost like a bait and switch, and it isn't that consistent messaging. So it's there's a lot of things that go into making a website wonderful. Design, yes.
Yeah.
Speed, absolutely. Your website needs to be fast, needs to be mobile friendly. I think these are things that most of us understand at this point. But really where we see that disconnect is, does the landing page, is the page that you're sending all your traffic to, make sense with all the messaging that you've done to lead the person there? And then once they're there, is it clear what you want them to do?
Right.
You want to have a clear call to action. It could be, ideally you can book online appointments. That's something that we would recommend to any medical practice if it's possible. But even if it's not, having your phone number right there or the form intake very early on the page and clear what the next step is.
Yeah.
That's how we get people to go from window shoppers to seriously talking to you.
I like that. We've got to find ways to remove those friction points.
Yep.
Especially now, I understand orthopedic is kind of the topic here, the example that we're using. A lot of an older demographic, right? That's utilizing those particular services. As our younger generation moves into more buying power and they have more and more needs of orthopedic surgery, for example, or procedures, this younger demographic does not want to pick up the phone.
True.
And so I like what you said about being able to embrace some of the technology to help facilitate a completely online booking experience. If we have a practice that does embrace that and they utilize that on their website, we do see higher conversion rates for that particular practice over some of their competitors, just because that experience is very, very seamless. Yeah, good. Aaron, anything else that you'd tell that friend of mine, again, practice admin at an orthopedic facility, what other advice would you have for them?
Really, I think that it comes down to just implementing all of those things together and then finding out where it is that you're weak. Another example of like ways that you can get people to trust you is online reviews. I would say if you haven't focused on your reviews, now is the time. That's going to be one of the biggest differentiators between you and your competitors. If I'm searching for the best, knee replacement surgeon in the area, then and I see 3 businesses and one has 5 reviews, they're all 5 stars. Another one has 400 reviews and it's 4.8.
Yep.
And then the third one's a 3.2. Well, I sure as heck ain't gonna look at the 3.2.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
and then the first one, hey, maybe that's a newer one. I might glance at it. But the first one I'm going to is the one with 400 reviews at a 4.8.
That's it.
We trust online reviews. So now's the time to, get reviews from every single person telling those stories of how their life has been improved.
Well, Aaron, I appreciate that. The check's in the mail, because that's actually what we're going to be talking about in our next episode, is the importance of that online reputation. Word of mouth is still something that's alive and well today, but nowadays people are going to Google, and 84% of Americans trust an online review as much as a personal recommendation. So Aaron, thank you. We didn't even plan that, so kudos to you. We will be talking about that in our next episode. But Aaron, I really appreciate you spending time with us today. For more information about how to dramatically improve and provide explosive growth for your medical practice, tune into our next episode. We do these each weekly so that we provide feedback for you on how to provide explosive growth for your medical practice. Thanks again, Aaron, for joining us, and thanks for listening. Join us next time on the Kardia Marketing Podcast.